welcome. Let's cut to the chase. I have something very special in my heart. The preliminary thoughts are, I mean, borderline things I've taught before, but I feel like it needs to be said. So I just want to share thoughts. First, I want to talk about vital signs. Some of you have heard me talk about vital signs. What are vital signs? They are clinical measurements. You know, when you go to the hospital, before you get to see the doctor, a nurse will attend to you and she will take measurements, clinical measurements, your blood pressure, your temperature, and all of that. And basically, all these indicate the state of a patient's essential body functions. That's what vital signs are. And they just help the doctor diagnose properly what is going on with your body. And you see, vital signs would help you realize that many times a person can be sick and not even know. I mean, sometimes you can feel when your temperature is too high or too low, but then there are more vital signs than that, blood pressure and all of that. All right, and all these things are important. Some sicknesses are more apparent than others. And psychologically, we're wired to respond, when what is wrong is obvious. So take, for instance, there's an accident. If people rush to the scene and they see people with broken arms, broken limbs, or dripping blood everywhere, you're going to hear them shouting and screaming. But then there is another type of injury called internal injury. So the person comes out and he just shakes the dust off and says, I'm fine, I'm fine. Meanwhile, something is terribly wrong going on inside. And that's why many times you're advised when you're involved in an accident, whether you think you're fine or not, just go. All right, so there is something called internal injury. So you can look fine physically and something can be wrong inside. This is heading somewhere, I promise. And thank God right now in the world there is increased awareness on mental illness. So you can look fine physically, talk like you're fine, but you're having struggles psychologically. So there's that. And the same way, there is something about our spirit. Nobody can see your spirit. They only see your physical body. And they can tell what your mood is like. People, listen, mental illness can be hidden, but sometimes people might be able to pick it, sense it when you're depressed. But the spirit is even more subtle. Something can be terribly wrong with your spirit and nobody knows. For instance, the first man was told, if you eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, you will surely die. God told him that. Guess what? He ate of that tree, and everybody is surprised when they read. The man is still talking, he's still walking, he's still going up and down. And he didn't die until he was about 969 years old. Adam lived that long. It took that long for him to die physically. But guess what? He died the day he ate the fruit. And that just gives us a mental picture. You can be a dead man walking. Death could only be a matter of time, because of the choices that you've made and the condition of your spirit. And this is where spiritual vital signs come in. I taught a sermon, I titled it, When is Your Spirit Normal? In fact, there's a book by Watchman Nee with the exact same title, even though the scope of my teaching was fundamentally different. You have to learn to investigate the health of your spirit. How am I really doing? I'm going to church regularly, but what's the health of my soul, really? And you see, what makes a lot of people not to be conscious of the state of their spirit, the state of their soul, or the health of both of them, is their values are wrong. They're taking the wrong vitals. They judge how well they're doing by what's in their pocket, if they're in a relationship or not. I mean, there is this pettiness that this generation is plagued with. And if we don't deal with that on time, the devil is going to have his day with many people. And that's just what I want to talk about. Listen, to drive home this point, There's a thought I want to share with you. There's this text that many Bible students know. And I want to just draw your attention to something. The Bible tells us in Luke chapter 8 that there was a man who was living in a graveyard. Just by my saying that, something was terribly wrong with him. Just the same way you see someone sitting on the curbs or on the pavement on the road from morning till night, and you just know something is wrong upstairs. So, of course, this guy was insane. And his insanity had a deep spiritual root to it. So he was possessed by demons. And as Jesus begins to approach this man, the demons in him begin to cry out, "Have you come to torment us?" And Jesus says to them, "What's your name?" And the demons speaking through this man said, "We are Legion." Our name is Legion because we are many. So Legion was a popular term given to an army of, many people differ in the numbers, but I think about 2,300. I don't really know. If you know the exact number, you can put it in the comments. I'm heading somewhere with this. Now look at it. The entire community was okay tolerating this guy's insanity. As long as he's in the graveyard, he's not disturbing anybody. And so he's there cutting himself. They try to bind him in chains. He breaks the shackles, consistently, and that's going on. So they are containing his madness, containing the madness. What I just said describes how many people live their day-to-day life. They are just containing the madness. And then Jesus is going to cast these devils out. And the devils make a plea. And they say, "When you cast us out, please let's enter the pigs. There's some pigs around here. Let's enter the pigs." And Jesus says, "Go." And so they enter the pigs. Immediately the pigs run to the river and they drown. Here is the point I'm trying to make, and this is very important and very crucial. I want you to pay attention to this. This is the crux of the matter here. Now, you see a man who had been mentally ill, he's restored immediately because Jesus cast demons out of him. And then instead, several pigs are lost. They drown. But hey, just think about it. You come to that scenery and you see someone who had been insane for so long. That guy must have family members, loved ones, who probably became hopeless, and just thought they had lost their loved one forever. And now he's fine. He's okay. And yes, some pigs, are lost in the process. But hey, this human being is fine. Guess what happens? The community, they come, they see what had happened, and they get scared. They get troubled. Some probably got angry because this is a huge financial loss for a farmer. I've lost several pigs. And even if they didn't mind that the man was mad and was in the graveyard, it suddenly becomes an issue that they had lost pigs. So we are looking at a culture that had more value for swine than for a human life. Listen, do you know what it means to come to see a man who had been insane in his right senses and sitting down? And you know how you respond? You send Jesus away. They begged and they appealed to Jesus to leave. They sent him away. And you see, this is just the bane of this current generation. We feel everything is okay until it affects our pockets. It doesn't matter what is wrong. Have you seen people? Because they have money, they feel that's excuse for every other thing they suck at. They're just horrible. They think they can talk to anybody anyhow because they have money. They feel they can do whatever they like because they have money. And their soul is languishing in hurt and in pain. They are housing pigs inside them. But it's not obvious as long as they are okay financially. There is something about us that exalts pettiness. So we have a wrong sense of value as long as we are okay financially. If you just see someone who has money and has a fine spouse, you think, yeah, everything is going on fine. Listen, as a spiritual person, you must recognize